Grand Rising, it's the Hood Mystic here with another video. Let me cut on some background music for the listeners. 1 second. Gotta cut on that no bullshit because that's definitely what we trying to do, not bullshit you. So today we're talking about a T square, and astrologically, a T square represents tension. So, understanding tension is very, very important and key, especially when you're studying astrology. Because when you're studying astrology, you're trying to figure out what it means. And a lot of times, of us trying to figure out what things mean, we do so in tension. An example would be when you are in a relationship with somebody and it is going well. You don't actually think about should you stay or should you leave or none of those things because the relationship is going well. The deciding factor on determining whether you're going to stay or leave ultimately comes through tension. But tension, it goes into areas such as education. Tension goes into areas such as career, where you have pressure. Now, pressure breaks people down or it creates diamonds. One could actually look at a T square in an astrology chart and see a diamond shape. But with all of that being said, I would hope that people would utilize the link in the description. Check out the free article that is on my Substack in reference to loyalty and royalty. Now, when we use these words, we want to be very specific because we was kings, right? Back in the day. Um, and where did that kingship come from? Well, let's just break this down in a simpler terms, simpler understanding. The King James Bible, when was that created? Let's just look. 1611. So that means that the King James Bible is not an ancient Bible. It's representing something that happened in 1611. Now, people can say that there were earlier versions of the Bible for which the King James Bible pulled from, but we got to also understand context and what's really happening. These are colonizers. And the colonizers, one of the things that they said was they took the land and gave us the Bible. Desmond Tutu says this. Now we got to be very aware of why did we take the Bible so freely and why did we integrate the Bible knowledge so easily. The reason why is because it was common knowledge that this was Israel and we were Israelites. The Bibles did not have maps. The Bible had texts and understandings. Before we were slaves, before we were Africans, before we were Americans, we were Israelites. And amongst all of these particular religions, there is a common theme that solidifies the Israelite nature, and that is voodoo or voodoo. And voodoo or voodoo is a spiritual system based upon snakes or spirits. These spirits likened to snakes. In the beginning of the Torah, in the beginning of the Bible, they are referencing snakes or serpents. That is because the book is magic. The story is magical. The story is based upon resurrection. The main premise of being a Christian is that Jesus dies and then is being resurrected. That is what is called a voodoo revenant. What is a voodoo revenant? Let's look that up. A voodoo revenant is a spirit or animated corpse that has been revived from death to haunt the living and is also a voodoo priestess. The word revenant comes from the Old French revenant, which means returning. That is what Jesus is. He is a voodoo revenant. He is the king of the Bible. He is the leader of the Bible. Therefore, the Bible is based upon voodoo. If billions of people can follow a religion, that is in reference to a particular spirit, a particular understanding. And when we talk about astrology, we're talking about voodoo. When we talk about Ifa, we're talking about voodoo. When we talk about voodoo, we're talking about voodoo. When we're talking about Santeria, we're talking about voodoo. When we're talking about hoodoo, we're talking about voodoo. We are all utilizing the undercurrent of spirits to get things done. Electricity is voodoo. You wouldn't say electricity isn't real, but can you touch electricity? Can you grab? You have to understand electricity. That would make you an electrician. When you understand voodoo, that means you are a voodooist. It's just an understanding. So I'm referencing Dambala because we're talking about Ophiuchus. The Sun and Mercury are conjunct in Ophiuchus. And to get an understanding of Ophiuchus, we must talk about voodoo because Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. If we don't understand voodoo, then we're not going to understand the meaning of a serpent bearer. Dambala, portrayed most commonly as a great white serpent, is a father and the king of the Loa. He is the great spirit of wisdom, peace, purity. His purity is so great that when he comes in possession, we lay him a white sheet and cover him with another. While he is portrayed as a snake, not any snake will do. Constrictors are associated with him, pythons specifically, vipers and other forms of serpents are not. Confusion may arise here as the Creole word couleuvre means snake, but is derived from the French word couleuvre, which is more specific and refers to smaller, non-venomous serpents like grass snakes and other snake families. In heavily Catholic houses, this is what I'm trying to get to. Catholicism, Christianity is voodoo practice. So when you look down on Christians, they probably way more spiritual and way more spiritually developed than you because the Loa is in everything. Every house you go into, every business you go into, every person you come into contact, they are in some form or some fashion possessed by a spirit. Every building is possessed by a spirit. Every company is an entity. Do you know that a business is called an entity? A business entity is the legal structure or understanding that defines how a business operates, including how it conducts business activities, manages finances, and distributes profits. Do you know that an entity, a business, can be a person, a legal entity? Yes, a business entity can be considered a legal person or entity in the eyes of the law. Do you see this word, law? You ever wonder where this word law comes from? It is the loa, ladies and gentlemen. In the eyes of the loa, a business entity is a legal person. Sometimes people say, I don't really understand what an egregore is. I don't understand what a spirit is. And you don't realize that you can create a business on Shopify right now. You could be a person with $0 and find stuff in your house. Do you have a talent? Do you have a ability? Do you have a craft? Do you have a specialty? Is there something unique about you? Is there something special about you? If the answer is no, you can learn Amazon, you can learn Google, you can learn TikTok, you can learn YouTube, you can learn these, and these can be your skills. Once you get a proficient skill, you can create a legal person that you can now control, and that legal person is an entity in the eyes of the Loa. Everything is a spirit. Because if you had ever had a job, one's in the chat if you ever had a job before. One's in the chat if you ever filled out an application before. That job was an entity. So in heavy Catholic houses, Dambala is often considered the first thing created by Banye or God, with all else being created through him in sort of voodoo semi-Arianism. In less Catholic milieus, he is sometimes accorded the primacy of the Creator, his shed skin giving rise to all the waters of the world, and his 7,000 coils supporting the material world. In others, he is likened to the Holy Spirit. Rooted in West Africa, Dambala is so old that he predates speech and is generally silent in possession. So a clear viewpoint of Dambala is this. Give me 1 second. Loading it up right now. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. This is Dambala. This is the serpent. And Ophiuchus or Asclepius or Imhotep was a serpent bearer. What does this mean? To bear the serpent and to be so literal with the understanding that it leads to transformation. Now, when you eat from the the fruit of not good and evil, but the tree of knowledge, you will be like a god. What does this mean? It means that you have the skills, the talents, and the abilities from your past life to come true in this moment today. This means that you become, they say Jesus is also the serpent, Jesus is also Lucifer. All of this is talking about your chakras, your spines, everything related to your endocrine system, to be so in tune, so relaxed, and so charged up internally that you know what you can do. You could be at peace. You can have true understanding and true connection. Being a student of your soul, like really looking at yourself from this perspective. When you talk about chakras and you looking and you feeling the energy going up and down your spine, and you're meditating on the energy of your spine, you're meditating on your pineal gland, and you're spending time and energy to go within yourself, to really get into the meditation and not worry about whether or not the job or the life or the girlfriend or the age or death or any preoccupation with the external world. You can actually deal with who you are from an internal level, from a spiritual level. This is the serpent bearer, and this is also the mode of possession too, as we'll get into it. Dambala has a deep relationship with another feminine spirit, Aida. Depending on one's house and lineage, they are spouses or siblings or two halves of a single whole or something else. What is certain is that the two are profoundly connected. So when you look at Moses and the Ten Commandments or Saint Patrick with the snakes at their feet, they're talking about a specific symbolism. Now, Moses had a snake and he had 10 commandments. That is just simply the Kundalini rising up the spine through the 10 Sephiroths. But let's get into the mythology of Ophiuchus from the classic understanding, and then let's talk about it from more of a spiritual understanding. And the reason why I would say that the sun and Mercury is in Ophiuchus is if we go to the live sky, because people will say, why is you talking about Ophiuchus for no reason? Hood mystic, that don't even make sense. The sun is in Sagittarius. I think this nigga Hood Mystic crazy. Highlights from the day in reference to the skylive.com is that the sun is in Ophiuchus and the moon is in Capricorn. So now that we got that out the way, let's have more background on Ophiuchus, because this is the hidden sign. This is the 13th hidden sign. And it is a reason that is the 13th hidden sign. Because now you got to talk about raising people from the dead. You got to talk about magic. You got to talk about the connection between science and magic, working with the ancestors, tapping into your DNA, awaken all of your latent gifts, and really going and elevating past levels, because you would deal with a certain level of tension during this time. And I need you to ask yourself this question, especially if it's a financial stress. What if you had way more money that the finances that you're dealing with were no big deal. How would you feel? How would you think about it? If you can think about it in that way, you should start thinking about that way now, because that could be a reality too. It is the small, and I wouldn't necessarily call them small, because people, one's in the chat, if you going through something during this time, do you feel any tension in your life, whether internal or external? It could be a tough time. It could be a time of deep reflection and deep introspection, but the reality of squares in general is that they represent challenges, and challenges do not mean that you should give up. Challenges actually mean that you should progress through the challenge, because when you progress through that challenge, you will have what is called strength. When you go to the gym to work out, the gym is there to break you down, because in the process of getting broken down, you become stronger. When you are not broken down, there is no way for the muscles to become stronger. There's no way you can go to get massages and develop muscle strength, because a massage feels good, but it's not going to develop the strength that you need. Which is why, if you experience in pain, going to work out will produce endorphins, which will reduce the pain. But in reference to the statistics of the people that's in the city versus the people that go to the gym, it's a goddamn shame. It is literally crazy to think. And mind you, people might have home gyms. I give you that. But yet, and still, as far as being a place where you can have conversations and meet new people, the only place that really makes sense in 2024 going into 2025 is the gym. Because what are you doing if you're not trying to be healthy in a world where everything that we do is an attack on our senses? When you look at the children in their faces, a lot of them are dealing with inflammation because of the food that the parents is giving them. I put my kids on a diet for 2 months and all of the inflammation wiped away. We looked at before and after pictures, and I'm like, see, that's crazy. You don't got to give your kids what they want. Let's just put that out there. We have to understand, in this society, we need to be working so hard. We need to be so focused and so driven in our spiritual pursuits and actual pursuits, because it's not a game. I had a dream about black people conversations, and I realized that I don't even want to have black people conversations. I don't even want to have the kind of conversations that, you know, we talking about opinion based stuff that ain't going to lead you nowhere. It just might feel good. We might argue and say, well, Kendrick is better than Drake. But at the end of the day, I want us to get to a point where we can bear witness to the things that are taking place in the real world and not miss out. There's a world where we can get on here and talk about meme coins and crypto coins, and in a year or two be all millionaires and be like, damn, that's amazing how we just made $1 million from understanding a system that exists in the world. And we wasn't so delusional to be just more or less trying to find shit that resonates with us, because the shit that resonate with you is the same shit that been holding you back thus far. So at a certain point, you might need to deal with something that challenges you so you can become stronger. Me and my wife were talking about the concept such as pretty privilege, as if to say that in 1924 the pretty girls wasn't on the farm milking a cow. That's preposterous. Because you can be a very pretty girl and still treat your man like a human being. And you can be halfway decent wanting to be treated like a pretty girl did. And so we got into a deeper conversation, and I used her as a reference as to, how supportive she is on a daily basis without question, without really any force. It's just assist, like, really that help me type of person. And from that position, she's gonna get the world. Now, from the outside looking in, it'd be like, damn, you just spoiled that girl. You just a simp ass nigga. But you gotta understand the inner workings of the relationship. So we can't look at the outside and determine that everything should be easy for me because it's easy for them. And you don't know the struggles that them people had to go through to get to where they at. And even if they told you, would you be willing to do it without going crazy, without snapping, without, treating a motherfucker like he your pet, or treating that person like a human being and coming to the table and saying, all right, we going to do this and we going to work together and we going to lock in, and I'm not going to be on no emotional glamour. I have no emotional glamour. I understand that everything requires some level of effort. And if you put in one, I'm going to put in one so we can have three. And we'll just continue this process over and over again until we get what we want. This is more in reference to being a serpent bearer or a serpent holder. Because until until you're able to activate your chakras and get into a relaxed state of consciousness, your chakras are under the mode of illusion and glamour. Therefore, this is why the normal conversation isn't centered around chakras. Because how could I begin to educate you on chakras when my chakras are under illusion? And this is just a general sense of the human condition, especially in the West. We have no spiritual center. There is no place that you can go where you can just go meditate and clear your mind. One's in the chat. There is no just open door place that people are known to go to just get into a space where there is just singing bowls, incense, is free, is no ego, is no tithing, is no government taxes. It is just a place that you can go to just be one with nature, one with God. There is no building like that. So if you understand that in this society, there is no spiritual center, there is no spiritual foundation, this means that you have work to do. In reference to bearing a serpent or holding a serpent, that means you have to do an action to get your arm around the snake. Now, hopefully we've all seen snakes before. If you ever tried to like grab a garden snake, that is not an easy thing to do. It's a very challenging thing to do. And we're just using that as an analogy to talk about the things that you want at an emotional level. Because it's fine to want things at an emotional level. It is delusional to just not put effort towards what you want emotionally. It is a mental illness because we are human beings. We know how to build homes. We know how to build ships. We know how to migrate from to and fro. It is not normal for us to sit on our phones all day or to sit around all day and figure out how to waste the day. So when we talk about activating your chakras and putting your best self forward, it requires a lot of work. And understand that serpent is very slippery. That serpent is hard to bear. It's hard to hold. So don't assume. Don't walk into this energy just assuming that you know what it is that you need to do and where you need to go, because in reference to your DNA there are some things that are just very very strong and very potent that you can begin to activate through constant meditation, through activating your chakras, through opening that doorway to who you are at a spiritual level, crossing over that barrier, taking the time, creating the situations to have a temple, right? The body is a temple, the earth has to be a temple. We cannot be so caught up in the world that we forget what is true. If you go to church right now, they're going to get you with a 10% tithe on everything you make. Why? What sense does that make? So this is a church. This is where you go to find God, to get connected to God. That nigga want 10% of your income. That is commercial. Like, you cannot tell me that churches represent God and the Pope represent God. These motherfuckers done spent billions of dollars to families of little boys that they have sexually assaulted. You can't tell me that the Vatican represents what God is about. And then idealize people that is in religions and say, oh yeah, they know the way, they know what they're doing. These motherfuckers is under a spell. And if you don't see the spell that they under, it's all it is. You gotta give it up to the voodoo. Like that shit, that nigga, that Pope doing them motherfucking voodoo rituals on that ass. You go to that church, they doing them voodoo rituals on that ass. You go into that mosque, they doing them voodoo rituals on that ass. You got to memorize the Quran from beginning to end, from back to the beginning. That ain't a spell, you have to be indoctrinated. You have to actually play these chess games with these people to feel like you closer to God. And here it is the whole time. You just had to purify your mind and relinquish those emotional glamours. Understanding, damn, I have a spine. Jesus died at 33. It's 33 vertebrae, meaning that he was resurrected at 33 as well. When you are working through the chakras, what do you think is going to happen? When you reclaim that latent energy, they call it 85% of junk DNA. Y'all let scientists say that we have junk DNA. Junk DNA. Are we serious? Is that a real term or am I trolling myself? I feel like I'm trolling myself. Them two words don't even go together in my brain. Junk DNA, is that a real thing? Junk DNA is a term used to describe DNA sequences that don't have a known biological function. You know what that sound like to me? That sound like when caterpillars turn into butterflies. When a caterpillar is full grown and stops eating, it becomes a pupa, also known as a chrysalis. The pupa can be suspended from a branch, hidden in leaves, or buried underground. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar's body dissolves into and is dissolves and is remade into the shape of a butterfly. This process takes about 2 weeks. When the butterfly is ready to emerge, it releases a hormone that gives it the strength to break out of the chrysalis. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the disintegration, the breakdown of who you thought you were, so you can be remade and reshaped and rebirthed into your true identity. A lot of people is not ready for this because the ego is so strong. The ego is so strong. Um, and I'm thinking about it, and I hope I can find it because it was okay. Here we go. It was on my mind. The mind is like the mind is like a cabinet. You forget things and then remember things. So what I'm trying to find is a quote, and I want to read this quote to you guys. This quote is from John D. John D says, I have from my youth up desired and prayed unto God for pure and sound wisdom and understanding of truths, natural and artificial, so that God's wisdom, goodness, and power bestowed in the frame of the world might be brought in some bountiful measure under the talent of my capacity. So for many years and in many places far and near, I have sought and I've studied many books in sundry languages and have conferred with sundry men and have labored with my own reasonable discourse to find some inkling, gleam, or beam of those radical truths. But after all my endeavors, I could find no other way to attain such wisdom but by the extraordinary gift and not by any vulgar school, doctrine, or human invention. What's actually being stated is that as much as we imagine and hope for to find that thing that is outside of us that is so magnificent, that is so great, that magnificence and greatness is actually you doing the transformation work. It is turning this 85% of junk DNA into what it's actually made for. And you understand and get into what humans can actually be when we get into the study of Ophiuchus. And there's tension, but there's also a reality in reference to the tension, which I would call a chrysalis, which the tension is just a process, right? If the caterpillar want to go to the club, but he in his chrysalis, he can't go to the club. Might feel like your world is ending, but if you give it 2 weeks, you're going to dissolve and reform into something that don't even think about the club no more. If you in your 30s and your 40s, give a one in the chat if you no longer do the things that or even desire to do the things you did when you was in your 20s. Put another one in the chat if when you was in your 20s you couldn't tell yourself that at no point. You was going to do it anyway. So if we can get out of shit and grow out of shit, then what is the process that stops growth? The process that stops growth is actually ignorance and ego and the lack of concise, clear, succinct knowledge when it comes to spiritual development, because there isn't a place for it, because everybody is trying to charge you. Everybody is trying to make a buck. Everybody is trying to come up. Because it ain't no money in me telling you that you are God. I don't benefit from you going within yourself and doing the self-discovery work. I get nothing from that. If I want to flip it, I can act like I got something to offer you. I can act like I got something that's going to save your life. In reality, I can only get you. I can get you a ticket. I can't drive you to the game. I can't go to the game with you. I can't watch the game with you. I can't cheer with you. I can't root with you. That's not a spiritualist job. Maybe your direction is external and you need to redirect your energy internal. I can help you do that Beyond that, what you do with that is up to you. Because in reference to your karma or your actions, you make the decisions. And Ophiuchus or sidereal astrology is for individuals that are ready to do this self-transformation work. When you look up the etymology and the understanding of Ophiuchus, it's about a human being that is immortalized in the sky. This is why this is hidden, because it's talking about what you can actually be. Most people are not ready for this conversation because they're so fine with being normal in a human being to just, struggle or have a job or have an apartment and have a nice car and find a boyfriend and, reincarnate over and over and over again. But it's not a caterpillar's job to stay a caterpillar. It's a caterpillar's job to go into a certain point and transform. This is the mythology of us. So Asclepius, well, we'll just read this in reference to the traditional story, and then we'll get more into the African or the indigenous or melanated story that is more closer to us, or the Egyptian story rather. Ophiuchus, the serpent holder, is associated with Asclepius, the noted healer of Greek legend. His mother, Coronis, was courted by the god Apollo, and she eventually became pregnant. However, this did not stop her falling for a mere mortal, Isis by name. The god had left the white crow to keep watch on Coronis, and when it reported her infidelity, Apollo was so furious that it had not immediately pecked out Isis's eyes that he cursed the bird and turned it back. When Artemis, Apollo's huntress sister, heard of the behavior of Coronis, she shot a quiver full of arrows into her. Apollo saved his unborn son and named him Asclepius and took him to Chiron, the kind and extremely wise centaur who taught him the art of medicine. The youth mastered the art completely, so much so that Hades, the king of the underworld, feeling threatened should Asclepius be able to raise the dead, complained to Zeus. The great god regrettably decided that Asclepius must die and struck him with a thunderbolt, thereafter placing him among the stars. To this day, Asclepius and the serpent are associated with healing, and all physicians take the Hippocratic oath, Hippocrates supposedly being a descendant of Asclepius. So all doctors take a Hippocratic oath and Hippocrates is a descendant of Asclepius. What are they saying? They're saying that all doctors are astrologers because Asclepius was placed among the stars. So you might say, I don't understand this story of Ophiuchus. I never heard this story of Ophiuchus before. It don't make no sense. And I would say you've heard this story of Ophiuchus a million times because the story of Ophiuchus is the story of Jesus. Jesus is just Ophiuchus. The 13th sign in the story of Christianity is just the story of sidereal astrology. This is essentially why Ophiuchus is hidden from us, and this is why in prehistory astrology would be something that you would know the same way as you would know Beyonce's birthday. But in this time, we have somehow fragmented and segmented all of the truths. And so we read a book over here, we get a little piece of the truth, and we find a little bit of truth over here, but we never think to connect it. We never think to connect it. And so what Christians did essentially is take Egyptian myths and normalize them. So it's called Greco interpretation and Roman interpretation. They interpreted Egyptian mythology. So when we study astrology, we're studying Egyptian mythology. We're studying ancient Egyptian archetypes. When we study ancient Egyptian archetypes, we are studying Voodoo. We are studying the Orishas. We are then studying astrology. The study of stars are just simply the study of our spine, and is the stars don't exist in the sky. The stars exist within us in the form of astrocytes. Astrocytes are star-shaped cells that support and help nerve cells that develop and function in the central nervous system. I went to public school. Where is the central nervous system? Is the central nervous system along the spine? Is the central nervous system along the spine? I went to public school. I don't know. Oh, wait, look. It goes up and down the spinal cord in the brain and sends nerves all throughout the body. So once again, how did we get here? Astrology, the study of the stars, which is the study of you, which is the study of your chakra, which is the study. And how do you get to these modalities and understandings? You have to relax and you have to meditate and you have to quiet your mind. You think Imhotep was worried about what his baby mama was doing when he was building a pyramid? One's in the chat if you ever been stressed out over your girlfriend while you was at work. One's in the chat if you couldn't focus on work the way you were supposed to focus on work when you and your girlfriend or boyfriend was going through something. You and your wife and husband was going through something. You can't focus like you're supposed to focus. You'd be like, man, can I just get some PTO? Can I get some time off? It all leads to the activation of the chakras. Proper hydration, relaxation, intention, understanding, visualization, getting into the realization that you are activating latent DNA cells within you to get extra knowledge, and the things will just come to you. My wife showed me a Bible verse with Naomi and Jesse in the Bible verse, and my kid's name is Naomi and Jesse. Now, my kids, they tell me their names before they're born. I know my kids' names already. And they not and I don't be reading the Bible looking for names. But when you tapped in, you tapped in. When you know, you know. When you are a part of the bloodline, when you are an ancestor yourself, 200 years from now, your family can look at you as the most powerful ancestor. They can look at you as one of the people in the bloodline that changed the trajectory for them today. Or they can be selling pussy on the back alley thanks to you because you broke up the family. Oh, it's that real. It's that real. You thinking you doing something righteous, you know what I'm saying, going to hotel rooms to get dick down while you got a babysitter. You ruining 200 years of a legacy because you hot in the ass. You don't like to hear that because people automatically think that what they doing have no reverberation. But it's a reality that is in sexual intelligence, emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, physical intelligence, becoming the best version of yourself to figure out how you can become an ancestor. Because niggas be worried about how they're going to pay the rent. They don't be worried about And what's the irony here? If you was to activate your latent DNA and really get into the focus of your voodoo practices, working with the loa, working with the spirits, working with the serpents, working with the undercurrents, you think they not gonna give you enough to pay your rent? You don't think they gonna give you enough money? They telling you to get a Google certification for free so you can learn how to code or learn things about AI or learn things about systems. You don't think that you're not gonna get a contract for $40,000? You don't think that the money part is not gonna be covered when you activate in your ancient DNA? You too busy to meditate because you got to make money, but at the same time, you don't think that meditating is going to contribute to your financial situation? You seriously think that meditation is not going to help you get money? You seriously think that meditation is not going to help you clear some things up? So when we talk about this energy specifically, when we talk about Imhotep, when we talk about Asclepius, when we talk about Ophiuchus, it's very important that we understand that these are gods that have actually lived. They talk about Jesus all damn day on every station, up and down the charts, up and down every block is Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus died and was resurrected. But Imhotep was really him. Imhotep really was a man that died and was resurrected into a god. You don't get Jesus without Imhotep. Jesus was in Egypt. Jesus was in a mystery school in Egypt. So, if anything, these people don't come up with shit because it happened. They come up with shit because they steal. They come up with shit because they steal. What did and if you say you cannot say that Jesus is not a powerful entity in energy. Very powerful, very potent, very pervasive in the black community, especially. But it's a goddamn voodoo revenue. It's a nigga putting niggas in a chokehold hex. Okay, how do you you gotta deal with Imhotep and start to make the connections. So Imhotep is just Asclepius in Greek. But the Greek did not come before the Egyptian. Let's just be so motherfucking clear about this. So you don't get Asclepius without Imhotep. Therefore, you talk about Asclepius, you talk about Ophiuchus, you're talking about Imhotep, an Egyptian god. That is so very important. Why? Because it is a black man in the sky that is being deified right before our very eyes, but we refuse to bear witness to the facts. And then we'll call it Ophiuchus. I'm calling it Ophiuchus for a lack of better words, but I'm telling you the reality is that is Imhotep. That is an ancient Egyptian man that have been deified and elevated to God status. Why am I saying this? Because he was very detailed and very specific, from medical writings to science to spiritual. Why? So we today can understand and understand that we can get to that status too, through taking care of our bodies, through taking care of our minds, and taking care of our spirit. activate in our latent DNA. Why? Because let's talk about Imhotep. First, his name means the one who comes in peace. But what was he? He was a polymath. I don't know if that's in the wiki, but it's other websites that name him as a polymath. Traditions from long after Imhotep's death treated him as a great author of wisdom texts and especially as a physician. No text from his lifetime mentions these capacities, and no text mentions his name in the first 1200 years following his death. Apart from three short contemporary inscriptions that establish him as a chancellor to the pharaoh, the first text reference Imhotep's death to the time of Amenhotep. In 1391 BC, it is addressed to the owner of the tomb that reads, "This priest may give you offerings to your ka or your soul. This priest may stretch to you their arms with libations on the soil, as it is done for Imhotep, who with remains of the water bowl." So they also say that he created a step pyramid. He was the first to create a pyramid. So this step pyramid came before the Great Pyramids, which is interesting. You know, um, and it makes me think about, right, just to bring this to modern terms real quick, in Kendrick Lamar's song on his new CD, Whacked Out Murals, we're gonna bring up the lyrics and just reference to the energy, because this is the number one hip hop song. Kendrick Lamar is a star, and we're talking about astrology, the study of stars. And he has a lyric, and mind you, the whole CD he's talking about him being reincarnated. He even have a song. I'm gonna go through a couple lyrics. Miss my uncle Lil Maine. He said that he would kill me if I didn't make it. Now I'm possessed by a spirit and they can't take it. That's a double entendre, right? Possessed by a spirit and they can't take it means that he is possessed by his soul and they can't take it away from him, because when you self-realize, this is when the Bible says, when God has a plan for you, no man can really stand in your way. So the number one goal is to self-actualize and self-realize, so you can't be manipulated. You can't be taken advantage of, and you can tell niggas to kiss your ass, right? You can go to war with everybody because you are in tune with your soul and you know what's right. And you're going to stand on what's right, and you're going to be celebrated for what's right, because as they say, God don't make mistakes. So moving along, because I don't really like Kendrick Lamar, but I would listen to the CD when he said this. "This is not for lyricists. I swear it's not the sentiments. Fuck a double entendre. I want y'all to feel this shit." And I said, okay, you got me, bro. You got me, because I grew up in a time where it was all about the lyrics. Boy tried to get me for that, man. Boy was glitching. But anyways, he said, I'm probably I probably built those pyramids. And that to me was like, damn, he really understanding some shit. Oh, so bitch, I probably built them pyramids. Right. Then he goes into some shit where he's talking about we are indigenous and some more stuff. So I'm like, okay, I will listen to this song, Kendrick. I will listen to this song. But back to the actual study. Give me 1 second. I was trying to find this these two things happened separately, but it was kind of like spiritual how it was connected. So I'm gonna share with y'all. I was trying to just, do some study on Imhotep and Ophiuchus, and I really couldn't find much online, right? But the reality is simple. Like, no scholar is going to debate, Asclepius actually being a real person, and just, Asclepius is just a copy of Imhotep, the great Egyptian man turned deity. So I found an article on some connection between Ophiuchus and Imhotep. And another thing that he connected, his name is, go to the bottom, see what his name is. Nahoma, or I don't know, you know, niggas is deep. So, you can't really pronounce their names. Ad Wirafo Kwesi Ra Nahim Pata Akan, right? Seemed like a serious brother. So, anyways, he was connecting some things for me. I'm not even gonna lie. He helped me understand and connect some dots that, I've always thought, but I've never really created the text around it, my thoughts. So I was just gonna share this with y'all in reference to just understanding what all this means for melanated people, right? Getting into like the voodoo, the spiritualism, the astrology of it. And he writes in a way that could be confusing, but my spirit wanted me to receive this. So I understood what he was saying. So I'm going to read it, but I'm going to also try to bring some succinct or conciseness to it so we can have an understanding, overstanding, and understanding of the implications of understanding astrology, understanding spiritualism, understanding voodoo, and utilizing it to help us without no money, no paywall, no tithing, no rituals, no initiation, no groups, no weird shit, just regular degular understanding, and bringing that understanding forth to help the collective since Saturn is in sidereal Aquarius. So the abosom, or the Akan for deities, is the divine spirit forces animating creation. So that would be the Loa, or the serpents, or the central nervous system, right? That is within each and every person, or the spirit that is in each and everything. You cannot start a business without making that business be an entity. Some people go to the law offices, to the courthouses, to the Secretary of State, and they create an entity. And that entity will hire people, fire people, build people up, and break people down, just like an entity would, right? But as the divine spirit forces, we have the ability to create these things on our own, especially in this day and time. There's no reason. But if we don't spend time meditating, if we spend our time in emotional vortexes of feeling bad, You know, like I said earlier, Imhotep was not worried about what his baby mama was doing. Imhotep wasn't saying, man, I ain't shit, man. I got 5 kids by 5 different baby mamas. Man, they don't think I'm ever be shit. And all these types of things we tell ourselves, and we feel bad, and we compare ourselves to other people, and we do not do the inner work because of our emotions and our feelings, because of what we going through. And in the reality, man, the totality of the universe, don't nobody give a fuck about what you're going through, man. This is just a lifetime of many. You don't even remember that time you was getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger, do you? Yep, the saber-toothed tiger was running through the village, eating up everybody. Your bloodline managed to survive that shit, you gonna survive trying to figure out how to pay your rent. I guarantee it. It is not a mystery. It is not a secret. It is something that is extremely simple. The divine spirit forces animating creation. And this is Ophiuchus, right? This is the hidden sign. What is hidden about us? The fact that we are able to transcend and transform, that we can actually work with the Loas directly. We don't need a pastor, nor do we need a Babalao, nor do we need a guru, nor do we need a teacher. All we need is the realization of our own spiritual energy. So shrines magnify the energy of the Obazum. So what is a shrine? The body is a shrine. The altar is a shrine. Nature is a shrine. One can use a magnifying glass to concentrate or magnify the energy of Aten or the sun to the extent that one can position the magnifying glass over dry leaves and cause combustion. The output of the sun has not changed. It is the magnification of its energy which has resulted in combustion. The Nakamir are shrines that we erect for the Absum or deities, as well as our spiritually cultivated ancestors, are magnifiers of their divine energy. Once invoked or evoked at the shrine, the abyssum or entity to take up residence temporarily at the shrine. They possess the shrine. This is no different than a deity or entity possessing the body of a traditional priest or priestess during ritual. So, what do we utilize astrology for? To give us the time and places and understanding of certain rituals that will allow for certain priest or priestess to be possessed. During the new moon, I let people know you could work with saliva through ritual and possess that goddess to help you. She has been helping me. She will help you. Like it is, I showed y'all the link on the website. I'm not creating something out of my left ass to then present to people. No, this is real shit that people can tap into. But if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Spirits are magnifiers and they possess. So, what is this all talking about? When we're studying astrology, we're studying Orisha, we're studying Voodoo, we're studying Arusu, we're studying the Netarus in Egypt. So, moving down a little bit more, he talks about Asclepius. Asclepius is the Greek corruption of the ancient elder Imhotep. Imhotep was an advisor to King Dozier nearly 5,000 years ago. Imhotep was not only an advisor, he was an engineer, a physician, and a priest. So we just use these as symbols. He was an engineer, a physician, and a priest, and an advisor. You're only talking about the activation of your DNA at a certain point. Because what does that mean? We're not bragging. We're not trying to like be like, oh, he was such an amazing person, even though he was. But I know the most important thing to this is going to be you. So how does this relate to you? It relates to you through the activation of your chakras, through your meditation. And this is the great work that they're talking about: self-discovery, self-actualization work. That this is the missing point. Because if you go to anybody, this is why the 13th sign is hidden. This is why the 13th number is bad luck. Because when you go to anybody, they ain't going to do nothing but scam you. I knew this when I went to, because I wanted to, I wanted to get my fortune told. So I would go to every single tarot reader that I can go to get my fortune told. And every single tarot reader said that I had a dark cloud over me, but I can get rid of the dark cloud for $300. One's in the chat. She would hit me with some mumbo jumbo to make it sound good. Then, because I pay $25 for the reading, once I put the 25 down, she'd be like, yeah, this, that, and the third. But what you really need is the chakra cleansing. And when you get the chakra cleansing, you'll be good. And then you leave that bitch like, damn, this bitch just scammed the fuck out of me. That's what the spiritual community is. A good movie to watch about this is Warlock. The girl owned a metaphysical bookstore. And, soon as she closed the door, she goes straight to the cash register. One's in the chat. She see how much money she pulled off y'all goofy ass niggas for the day. And then the warlock come in there like, all right, I need to channel something. And she like, cool, I'll channel. And then she go through the motions. She start channeling and she start talking that shit. And he was like, she goes, ask me a question. And then when he asked her a question, he be like, I'm going to just wait until the real spirit come. Meaning that these niggas fake as hell with this spiritual shit. You got to know that. That's like me being a worker at McDonald's and saying, because I work at McDonald's, all the hamburgers is healthy. Just because I'm a spiritualist, I'm not going to say that because I'm a spiritualist, being in the spiritual community is a safe and cool thing to do. I'm not ever going to tell you that because I'm in the spiritual community and I actually deal with people. When we talk about spirituality, you talking about people who have usually fucked up and looking for a way of cleansing, a way of purification. And I can say that because that is me. But ultimately, it's not like I'm perfect and I've done everything gracefully and no, it's to say that shit, I can only save myself at the end of the day. You can only save yourself at the end of the day. And that's the truth. And if it ain't anything outside of that, and you actually think that you can save me, nigga, my number is 248-413-4069. Text me or call me. I need savings. What's up? Hit my line. Text me immediately. Break up this live cast if you can save me. I want to be saved. When you hold on to that energy for too long, you start looking real pathetic because in the amount of time that you was looking for somebody to save you, you could have been done saved your ass a long time ago. And this is a mentality. If you grow up with your father, you be needing something, but what you actually need is the discipline that your daddy was supposed to give you. You need that because mom comes and nurtures you and loves you. Mom, I want a PS5. Here you go, baby. You start to think life actually work like that. Can somebody give me a PS5? Now all of a sudden you a broke ass nigga. You see how that work? I can't fuck with no nigga that don't got no money. Well, for 18 years, my mom done did everything for me. How I'm gonna start being a protector and provider? I never had to do that for my mom. My mom was a nurturer and took care of me every day. So how am I going to protect and provide for you? And trust me, if you not self actualizing and self realizing, you ain't dealing nothing but with that. If you dealing with a man that has not self realized and self actualized, and he have been raised by his mom, when y'all get into a relationship, he is going to want you to do everything for him. He's not ever going to do shit for you. Only thing he's going to do is fuck you. He's not ever going to take you to get nothing to eat. He's not going to spend no quality time with you because his mom took care of him his whole life. So he only sees women as somebody to take care of him. How do I know this? Because I was raised by a single mom and I had to go through my self actualization process because it hurts to not know what you don't know. To be like, damn, I could have been way more initiative in that situation. But we're talking about programming. We're talking about understanding and overstanding. See, Dambala and Aowedo, they are working together. It's a masculine chord and it's a feminine chord. In Hindu tradition, it's the Ida and the Pingala. When you look at the DNA, it is actually is four strands, but it's really two strands that braid and weave into one another. And when you talk about your DNA, when you talk about your internal codes, you talk so think about the programming, right? Men don't have the essence of what it takes to become men. Therefore, we don't have the essence to really show up in our relationships. Therefore, we don't have the essence to balance out our homes. Therefore, we don't have the essence to connect to our spiritual creator. Therefore, the whole civilization can crumble based on these simple factoids. Because when you talk about really learning and really understanding, when you talk about Imhotep, he is very scientific, very precise, very masculine, and able to figure out a way all the way to magic, step by step. So when we talk about people like Tesla, Edison, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Banneker, right? Talking about mirror energies. And if we were to actually get into the history or do some time traveling work, we'll see that Benjamin Franklin didn't exist. It was only Benjamin Banneker. We will see that Thomas Edison didn't exist. It was only Nikola Tesla. Well, we see that Asclepius didn't exist. It was only Imhotep. And right now, it's black people right now that have already created amazing things, and somebody have already stole your idea and made millions of dollars. One's in the chat. If you ever created something and somebody stole your idea, you won't get credit for it, but they steal your idea and you see them become successful. One's in the chat if you ever seen that happen before. I remember I put out a song and goddamn Justin Bieber stole my shit. Same chord progression, same title and everything. I come out with a song called Yum Yum Sauce in February. He come out with a song called Yummy in August, and it have the same, is in the same key, in the same melody, in the same topic. My song is about taking a girl to a restaurant. His video is about taking a girl to a restaurant. I tried to sue. I tried to sue before you even asked. I'm still trying to sue. But the reality is this: we all have Imhotep within us. We all have the ability to create. And if somebody have ever stole your ideas and become rich off your ideas, it's okay because it's more of that where that came from. I don't know if I used that right, but y'all get the point. There is so much within your DNA that you can cultivate through your ability to do deep transformation, deep meditation work during this time, going within yourself and really figuring out what your transformation looks like and getting the business behind it too. Cause stop letting these motherfuckers steal your ideas. You don't even realize people steal your ideas from the ethers. Just talking about your ideas, people snatch that shit, utilize it, and create billion-dollar companies. It's a company right now that's making millions of dollars off of stammet stacks. But you can get stammet stacks from, White Rabbit Psych. I look at the world in such a very interesting place because I can see an alternate universe where I have support and we all come together and we all just formulate stuff. But in reference to actually dealing with people, it is the emotional barrier of glamour and the external realization of the world where I know it's treacherous. But my viewpoint is more tied into the holistic viewpoint of it all. Getting into the knowledge, the inner knowledge, external knowledge, and really cultivating things within myself and putting these things together throughout the years. I don't feel no better. I don't feel no greater. But at the same time, I'm just like, damn, I do. It makes me feel like, we watching an episode of the Truman Show sometimes where there are things that is taking place at a certain level. And then it started to hit me where it's like, man, everything is voodoo. You can't really complain about nothing that you haven't initiated with the Loa, that you haven't ritualized, and you haven't really tied into no form of magic. So with me, I just been recently, I ain't been really, I've been really just trying to get back on track. And it's crazy because it's easy for me to get back on track, but it's easy for me to get off track too. Like it's easy for me to get off track because I'm an emotional being. I'm a human being, right? And realizing the times where I was dehumanized and I normalized it and just breaking through all these particular barriers that's within me. And it's like, it's a certain way that I want to show up every day. It's a certain way that I want my life to be. And who is in control of that? Me. Like I said, if you want to save me, please hit my line. But other than that, I have to save myself. And to be so initiative, you can't kiss people's ass. You can't make people happy. And in reference to getting off track, I can almost pinpoint the point where I'm trying to make somebody happy to the point of me getting off track. So it's all about cultivating your energy. When I'm saying inner, INNER, CHI, cultivating your energy and also realizing that you are an ancestor. Your work, your karma, you will determine whether you will be remembered or not remembered and whether or not you care or not care. The things that you do in reference to your family, the person that you're trying to be. In the article, I talk about Saturn and Aquarius a little bit. And part of showing up for the collective is showing up for yourself. Because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You can start with the empty cup, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So just learning how to cultivate your energy within yourself is the starting point. And then some of us are advanced in this and we have done the inner work and been have a full cup. So what is your gifts? Like how can you contribute to the collective? right? If you feeling any tension, especially financial tension, is really figuring out how you can show up. And sometimes you can show up as support. Sometimes you can show up as, administrative. Everybody don't need to be the star. Sometimes Saturn and Aquarius is just more or less, get in where you fit in. And this Saturn and Jupiter, square is not a short square. It's gonna be intensifying over these next couple of months. And I say all of this to say, what does it look like for you showing up? Whether in your whether like socially or in your business or just things like that. Like, it might feel like it's a challenge to show up for yourself, but you have to really look at yourself and your business. Like, what does this business look like a year from now if I really give a fuck about it? If I really care about my business, what does it look like? And from that perspective, once again, you might have to start over. And I started a whole different LLC. We started a whole different LLC, gonna structure it in a whole different way. Cause you live and you learn. You have trials and you have tribulations. You trial and error. You fuck around, you find out. You figure out what works and you figure out what don't work. But once you start your company, once you start your business, it is a living entity. And the care that you take to it, the structure that you have around it, the ways for which you see it operating is the way it will manifest. There are so many different ways that you can contribute to the collective based upon your unique gifts. And these are the questions that this square is asking. And this is very difficult, especially if you're the type of person that's been working a job. Because even working a job is not the end of the world, but understand that that's voodoo. And so what I would do a lot of times is that I would send viruses, energetic viruses through the company. So either I can get what I want or they can fire me or I can find a new situation. Cause you filled out an application to that job. You got dressed for that job. You wanted that job bad. You was happy when they said you're hired. That's all rituals. That's all initiations. You went through what you think the training is. The training is more of an initiation. It's called a probation period. So you go through all of this just to hate the job, and that's an emotion. Understand your power, understand your energy. Start doing rituals on your fucking supervisor so they can start treating you better. Start doing rituals on the CFO so they can start giving you goddamn raises and shit. Give you extra time off. Start fucking the system up with your voodoo. Stop complaining, stop feeling sad, start having fun with your magic. Cause once again, you gotta start laughing at all of this shit. Cause this shit funny. And if you can't see the joy in it, you ain't gonna be able to tap into your magic. It's very, very simple, but it is more or less of a challenge. So I'm asking some questions, some journal prompts in the article, talking a little bit about sacred geometry, working with scrying and meditation. The reason that I'm bringing this up is because, Enochian magic is real big right now in the cosmos, meaning that you could scry and see different entities and different spirits speak to you, depending on your abilities, the time and energy. When you talk about scrying, and to be specific, scrying is a lot of times where it's at when it comes to communication with particular entities. And the reason why it's very powerful and potent, because you got to understand how is people dealing with spirits before they was, booking readings online or going to metaphysical bookstores. In order to talk to spirits, they were using the lakes, they were using bowls, they were using water, and they got a lot of shit popping through scrying. So scrying is one of those ancient arts and techniques that, if you in a rock and a hard place, try it. Do some research on it. If you want some links to the modality of scrying, just visit the article. You can utilize the links on the website. And also working with sacred geometry. When we're dealing with sounds, it's all sacred geometry. If you want to test, go to YouTube, or I can show you guys right now that all sound is just sacred geometry. So what we're going to do is show you speakers and water. I'm going to cut off the music. And I'm going to just show really. So really this is just water, and this is on top of a speaker. And what you'll see is with specific sounds, the water creates specific shapes because the water is recording the sounds. It's showing you what the sounds look like. So your modality of hearing things is a result of sacred geometry. So the what I've been working with a lot of times is either triangles or hexagons or pentagrams. And these are just the shapes that resonate with me, and they give me, great breakthroughs when I'm working with them, when I'm meditating on them. And in reference to Jupiter and Taurus, it is a point where expansion is utilizing your subconscious mind. And what does this Jupiter and Taurus looks like? This Jupiter and Taurus just simply is a chrysalis period. What is a chrysalis period? It is the transitional state. One's in the chat if you feel that you are in a transitional state. One's in the chat if you know that this state that you're in is not a forever state. And that is very uncomfortable. And it's okay. Work with entities like Salibo. Work with entities like Pambajira, because these are entities that are, the word escapes me, liminal deities. Thank you. These entities are liminal, meaning that these goddesses preside over thresholds, gateways, and doorways, a crosser of boundaries. So if you find yourself in a transitional state and you feel uncomfortable, understand that that is normal for spiritual beings. It's normal for a caterpillar to become a butterfly. It's very uncomfortable, I would imagine it to be. But don't let that uncomfortability, don't let that tension make it seem like it is the totality of the story. It's just one part of the story. And as we begin to elevate and raise our energy moving forward, I just want to just spend some time with you guys and just share, alert you to the website. Also visit White Rabbit site. We have our 25% off sale on the entire store for the weekend only. We have some new flavors for a limited time only. Our hood bar, psychedelic chocolate bars would be excellent stocking stuffers. My favorite is the Biscoff bar. It actually tastes like a Butterfinger. So and I don't want to be too explicit, but let's just say rounds. let's just say many, many rounds, if you catch my drift. Definitely get some time off work. It's best like to enjoy these candy bars with somebody. And just doing the chocolate bars, we sell more chocolate bars than anything as of late because they're, for one, they're really good, and it's amazing because you can actually sense the psilocybin and the chocolate, uh, the chemical composition of it all, and then the different tastes and flavors is it's just a fun festive thing. So if it's a family get together and you want to bring a side to the family function, go ahead and bring some psychedelic chocolate bars, and you can save 25% off your order if you just simply order now. But if you can also visit the site and click this little arrow, and if you have any questions, you can click our contact form, put in your information, and just ask us any questions. Right, those come directly to our emails, and we will respond promptly. But with all that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hope y'all read the article. And more importantly, I hope that you self actualize, self realize, and don't let the tension of the day. You might have a lot of stuff going on with your family, a lot of stuff going on with your job, a lot of stuff going on where you don't know where you're going to stay, things like that. Very serious stuff that's happening. But please understand that it's just a part in the movie, it is not the whole movie. So if you can think about ways that you can better yourself and improve yourself, or think long term, these would be the better strategies to deal with the energy. And also understand that when you activate your latent DNA, there are some benefits and rewards that come with it. So your struggle might seem like a struggle, the same way as flying might seem like a struggle to a caterpillar, but to a butterfly it's just his way of being. So I leave y'all with that, purifying, detoxing, all of that good energy, jazz. That's what we need to be doing. Um, Making sure that we are in tune with the divine and not in tune with the craziness. So, more things to come. Also, another thing before I get out of here, I noticed people that was trying to book readings with me, and my site was glitching for some reason. I fixed that glitch, and I also added $25 recording readings as well. So if y'all want to tap in, please utilize the link in the description to book a reading. Check out the reviews, and thank y'all for y'all support. Make sure to leave a like on y'all way out. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Now we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.